Hello, YouTubers. My name is X-Fact. Welcome back to another episode of Tanker Tuesday, where we are actually in the tank. Firestorm or Rush defense, the first two sets of MCOMs, and I start engaging the tank on the outer lane. Remember, they get 3 pieces of armor plus an attack jet. One thing that you have to worry about balancing is how much shell you actually have left. And as you can see, I've got 3, about to be 4, and I'm kind of missing here. But don't worry, we're actually going to get warmed up. And if you pay attention to who's in my squad, Jet from Squad Up is in the Jet. So he popped APS. The light is green. Green means do not go. Touch is red, and I'm actually going to disengage here because I'm kind of losing that fight. He's getting reps, maybe double reps with the sparks coming off of both sides. I simply do not have enough firepower to knock this guy down. Sure, he's showing me his side, but I missed by hitting the pillar. The last thing I want to do is get overexposed and then have no primary shell. So sit back, let my shells recoup, and then start hitting him. I wait till he turns his attention to me to pop my APS because I don't want to get hit on my side. No matter what shell he's using, more than likely it's going to be a pretty nasty disable. The closer to cover I'm playing, the more I can afford to be disabled. Don't want to be disabled way in the open. So when a tank coughs up a lane, you can take advantage of that if you have a piece of armor. Because more than likely there's going to be a pile full of squishies. Support players, assaulters, engineers that might not be paying attention, and of course those pesky recons. If they're at bay, they're easy to deal with unless they're an engineer with an RPG, SRA, or small. And then of course, you have to keep in mind, where's their attack jet? What kind of cover do you have? And are they using javelins? Believe it or not, these pipes are great for baiting people into javelins. As this guy goes down, right before his SRA goes off, then the guy in the back locking the jav goes down. So they basically lose their projectiles in both cases, which really helps mitigate some of that potential damage. I talk about this all the time. The armor is only as strong as the infantry around it, so pay attention to your surroundings. I've got a friendly or 2 behind me on my back right, and my gunner has seemed to be paying attention for the most part, checking around on our flanks occasionally. Now, the question is, how many pieces of armor do they have up? Is their jet still up? And this is something that you can use the big map to take note of. More than likely, it's going to be spotted because you have an attack jet in the air. Your team might have a map, or we pushed up, and lo and behold, there is one tank. That is my primary focus. Not kill a bunch of infantry. Yes, they might push up, but keep their armor at bay because their armor is what is going to quickly push you guys off the map on these points. Remember, they have 3 tanks. You have 2 tanks. And if you're in a server that has a delayed spawn like this one does, it's not the typical spawn timer. There's actually a penalty if you lose your armor. So you really have to be careful in servers like this, especially if there's an elongated spawn timer, which puts even more emphasis on strong infantry support of the armor and strong armor play. Now, the HMG, first 2 shots are perfectly accurate. Then if you're holding mouse button 1 or your bumper, it's just going to start getting some of that spread. So not the best. So we kind of started off slow here, but my job is to dink and dunk on that armor and keep the big pushes back. No armor in this lane. When the cat is away, the mice shall play. Now remember, that AP shell is going to knock down a lot of this concrete. And remember, a lot of these maps, your HMG can actually take down the concrete. Siege of Shanghai, the first parking garage, that second story, just heat each chunk of concrete with 2 or 3 HMG shells. Down it goes, you take away the cover. So we're waiting on some reps here, and there's about to be a bombardment of RPGs and UCAVs. You really have to be careful when that stuff starts coming, and you have to be careful what side you're repairing on. Obviously, if your tank is very slow moving, I'm talking 2 or 3 or 4 miles an hour, whichever way you face your turret, whether you're the primary or secondary gunner, you're going to get out facing that way. But if you're driving too fast, you got a lead foot, you're going to get out in front, which usually means you're going to eat an RPG, a mortar, or whatever other spam. Maybe a primary tank shell is coming your way. So use the tank as cover if you're critically disabled. So we're going to start to push on this left lane, and that concrete barrel is not going to save them this time. Try to back up, and I'm going to start to curve my backup. And I usually do that, whether it's a long lane or a short lane like that. And that right there is the UCAV special. If you kind of do like a serpentine or an angle, that's another dimension that the attackers have to worry about. So we're immobilized. That one hit me pretty hard. We're going to give this guy a peek. Got great cover. It's a very hard shot for him to make. Now he's going to start fading back. He popped his APS. I popped my APS. Both those shots washed each other away. And here's a little drop shot. These are easier to make. And that's not just one drop shot. Here comes another drop shot over the concrete, and one of our armor and hills are back there. So those are a lot easier to make with the HE shell, which punishes the tanks a heck of a lot more, but it's very slow shooting. It does very little damage to the infantry as well. I've really taken a liking to the AP shell for the most part, even though on armor-centric maps, as a UCAV hits me, I'm going to spin my turret and get out in the back, kind of towards the side. I really prefer the HE shell, unless it's wide open, massive conquest map. As another UCAV hits me, immobilizing me, so we're just going to play the repair game. Double reps, they simply cannot burst you down quick enough. So we're going to rotate back on this right side, and whenever I'm playing tank on this map, whether I'm attacking or defending, I'm constantly checking these flanks, trying to exploit and then push through a lane. But as a defender, you don't want to overexpose yourself, because if you lose your piece of armor, you might be down 3 pieces to 1. Now remember I talked about these pipes? These pipes are great. You can actually block and eat a lot of those javelins if I would just simply back up just a touch more. But right here, we're trying to do some HMG sniping with very little success. Down to 45 tickets. They set the MCOM, so why not support it? If their armor's in check, you can play a little bit closer to the MCOMs. Here's the problem. If you play close to the MCOMs the whole round, you give their armor the ability to flank you and bottle you up. Infantry and your armor. That is the worst thing you can do. Whenever you're playing rush, it's all about expanding the push, forming that horseshoe, whether you're defenders or attackers, and that slight little angle right there might have saved my bacon and kept me in the tank and not repairing. So don't allow yourself to get cornered or bottled up as he hits the primary. More than likely, I could have gone for the classic shot and just shot the container. More than likely would have been enough to blow him up. And here's where the AP shell comes in handy as well. Once we get a little bit of repair, is that splash damage I alluded to before, and I've talked about in other episodes. If they're playing behind pillars, just hit close to the pillar. This is something the HE shell would not be capable of doing. If you know somebody's spotted, you see them on the mini-map, just hit them with that splash. Hopefully you guys enjoyed Tanker Tuesday. Remember, drop your recommendations down below. What kind of build, what kind of mode, and map do you want me to play? As always, YouTubers, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out, and we'll see you on the next one.